Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Stop them. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army.
Welcome to Eradicating Programmed Ignorance, and I am your host, Roger Landry. And what you're going to find out real quick here is that this is not the usual format for Eradicating Programmed Ignorance. Going forward, we will have multiple forums for this show. This is what I'd like to call a telepodcast. This is where you get about anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes on a topic that is something that is involving a large majority of the population, whether it be a health issue, whether it be a political issue, whether it be a military issue, whether it be a southern border invasion issue. But I used to do this when I was doing radio shows, and it seemed quite popular. The point here is that please don't expect to be hearing any extreme liberal positions unless it is to show the extreme difference between a conservative point of view and a liberal point of view when it comes to whatever topic we're discussing. What we're going to be doing going forward is this will be the standard format. And we're going to get a lot of information out through this, but it's going to be basically like, and I'm not comparing myself to, but giving you a concept here, something like the Rush Limbaugh show, and other shows like that, where commentary is given about specific issues or specific topics. So rather than waste the entire time we have here today on telling you what the new format's going to be, and there occasionally will be shows with guests, TV shows, standard TV shows, for Eradicating Programmed Ignorance as we go forward. But today we're going to start off with something that I think really needs to be discussed. It needs to be discussed because we have working against us in this country the massive propaganda, the massive hiding of reality from what will soon be the next generation running this country. And what they're being taught via mechanisms such as Common Core, what they're being taught in universities where rather than confront, all right, those you disagree with facts or with rhetoric, it seems much easier to fly off the deep end, scream, holler, and try and shut down any point of view that doesn't equal yours, all the while calling those only wishing to have the freedom to express that point of view fascist. I want to start off, and I know this is probably a little on the late side, but I'm sure I've mentioned it in articles I've written or shows that I've done over the last couple of years, right? We do know that what passes for education in this country today is beyond belief. Just listen to some, I don't know, dedicated retired teachers and ask them what their considerations are or what their thoughts are for Common Core, or the liberal professors we have today that literally are teaching our children that they must always be right. And if not, then we're not talking about freedom of speech anymore. Okay? We're not talking about you having the ability to be as right as I am, or you having the ability to be right when in fact I think you're wrong. Okay? We all know today what Antifa is. It's anti-fascist. And we need to get that nailed down before we go much further. What is fascism? What is fascism? Okay? Because we're being called, as anybody who is, I don't know, independent minded or conservative minded, we're being called fascist. Why are we being called fascist? Because we want to impose our views upon them, whether they like it or not. Now, I don't know. I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of videos. I've heard firsthand from individuals who have been there. I have seen firsthand, in some cases, what has happened. It would seem to me that those who will not allow the practice of the First Amendment are the progressives. It would seem to me that if you don't espouse to what they believe in, you in fact don't have the right to say what you believe in. Yes, I'm telling the truth here. Now, in all of this, there are those out there saying, look at the Democrats, and what you will see from these Democrats is that everything that they are railing about, they are guilty of. Okay, let's stop right there and stop calling this fascism. Please try to understand what fascism is. Okay, what is fascism? Fascism is defined loosely here. I don't have a dictionary sitting in front of me, as the marriage of the power of government and large corporations. So when we talk about Antifa, or we talk about progressives getting in your face and screeching at you simply because you're not agreeing with them, that's not fascism. If we are going to correct the future, we need to learn from history. Okay? Fascism, not a good thing, but not what everybody thinks it is. Were there stormtroopers marching through Germany? Yes, there were. Okay? Was that fascism? Yeah, it was. Why? Because the party that was in power was a party of fascism, just like Mussolini. Okay? But the definition of and where the money came from to, I don't know, build these phenomenal armies that Hitler built, okay? And had he not had to fight on so many fronts, he definitely had a superior military to just about anything that's out in Europe. So, again, fascism is how that money came in, how that control came about. That's fascism. All right? You standing there telling me that I am not allowed to tell you you're wrong, and maybe not in so many words, but in screams and hollers and breaking windows and starting things on fire, so on and so forth. All right? We have gone down a path I never thought we would in this country. And I'm an individual who remembers. I constantly discuss perspective. What is perspective? Okay? It's having the ability to stand back and look at something and understand specifics about it. Sure, not a dictionary definition. In reality, this is what I believe it is. And what I like to tell people is, if you're a baby boomer, you have probably at a minimum 3 generations of perspective, or at least 60 years of seeing what has happened in this country, where it's been and where it's going. And I've got to tell y'all, every single one of you, all right, I am scared shitless. I am looking at a country that is on the verge of a civil war. But it's not a country that's on the verge of civil war out of natural progression. This is not something that progressed naturally. This is something that is choreographed and is being rammed down our throats. Some call it the deep state, some call it the shadow government, some call it many, many other things. Some call it, I don't know, crazy progressives, out of control progressives. Some people call it what? What we're looking at after 30 years, after 3 generations of perspective, what I'm looking at is a political system that is the antithesis of what I was born into, or the representation of that political system is the antithesis of what I was born into. And what do I mean by that? When I was born, you put your hand over your heart, you pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. There are those who will argue for that and those who will argue against that, but that was what everybody did. This is what we did. Okay? We learned self-reliance. We learned that if we were a little faster and a little bit better, we could get a little further ahead. That wasn't a bad thing, okay? That wasn't politically incorrect to be better than the next guy so that he always felt bad, and damn it, we should give him a trophy too. Let's talk perspective, okay? Let's talk perspective across the spectrum, because this is what we're going to be doing each week going forward. I have a vast amount of knowledge. I've published over 1,000 articles. I can't even count the TV shows and radio shows I've done, and I've guested on so many of them. And what can I bring to the table? I can bring to the table a massive amount of research on health. Excuse me. What do I mean by health? I mean vaccines. I mean geoengineering. I mean fluoride. I mean pharmaceutical drugging of not only our children, but the population. Let me give you a real quick one on this, okay? Something to open your eyes a little bit. We have 5% of the population of the planet, yet we are using probably 30% or more of all of the psychotropic and psychiatric drugs on the planet. Just stop and think about that. 5% of the population of the planet. All right, so we'll be discussing health issues, and I've broken down some of those categories. Okay, vaccines will stand tall. Fluoride will stand tall. GMOs will stand tall. Geoengineering will stand tall. And there are some subcategories. And, well, let me mention this one, because this is one that is of immediate danger to all of us, and we need to do something about it, and that's 5G or EMF. Okay, these are the frequencies that are constantly surrounding us, and I don't know. Can you say genocide? I know for a fact, because the research has already been done and published, that just about every single grade school out there today has Wi-Fi in almost every class. And because of this, our female children who go through K through 12th grade, 57% of them will be sterile. In the year 2014, which was the last year I saw this statistic, the United States had a 314,000 birth deficit. We will go over the whys and the wherefores. That's the health issues. We will also delve into the political issues. What is, the Bill of Rights? Because today in Common Core, and yes, I could show you this, I can prove it to you. Today in Common Core, they are teaching our children that our rights are in fact granted to us as privileges by a benevolent government. That, my friends, is so absolutely wrong and literally shreds the Constitution. And again, we could go on and on. What is the reason for the birth of, and what has happened since the birth of the Fed, the Federal Reserve, in, 1913? What has happened? Okay. Let's also discuss, when we discuss politics, false flag events. Let's discuss 9/11, okay? Let's discuss one of the biggest events in the history of modern humanity. And if you think I'm overblowing this, just stop and look at the 90-degree turn the world took after 9/11. The ramifications, the reverberations, and what is still being influenced by this is massive. So when we talk politics, there's a never-ending amount of topics we can discuss, and in depth. So we're talking health issues. We're talking political issues. We should also be talking, I don't know, issues that involve all of us as a society. I can tell you right now, and we're guilty of this, we have been at the Liberty Beacon Project, probably as much or maybe even more so than others. We can constantly give you the problems, we can constantly give you the issues, and we can give them to you well, and we can give them to you in detail. The problem is, after a while, that turns people off. You get so, I don't know, tired of being scared or being pushed further and further to a belief you just don't want. So what is the solution to that? Well, that is the solution to that. We offer solutions as well. And this is something that will be coming. One of the other topics we need to discuss is war. Anybody who thinks that the United States of America, in all of our patriotism, okay, is this God-given grace to the planet, and everything we do is right. Anybody out there who believes that, you're listening to the wrong show, okay? We are here under the precept that you're not being told the truth. The government is not doing what it's telling you it's doing, and someone needs to. Okay? Mr. Avery, who is a published author and, I don't know, he's got more titles than I could shake a stick at, and a diehard liberal over in Europe, published an article on the Liberty Beacon, our flagship website, the other day, called Why We Desperately Need the Alternative Media. So why war? War can't survive without media. It can't, okay? Can't even get a real war started without some good media. But let's talk about war. Let's talk about the United States of America. Let's talk about how many people have been killed across the planet since the end of World War II, directly or indirectly by causality of the United States of America, and it far exceeds 20 million, and some people say would approach 30 million. Okay, how do we do stuff like this? This is freaking insane. How can this happen? There are 194 countries on this planet. Some will tell you there's 196, but we'll, for argument's sake, say 194. The United States has military stationed either overtly or covertly, yes, I said that word, covertly, in over 170 out of 194 countries on this planet. When we talk about Russia interfering with U.S. elections, and believe me, I'm no huge fan of the Russians playing with our elections, whether it was effectual or not. But if most out there even had an inkling of the CIA, and I could go on and on with the alphabet soup, blah, 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 interference in sovereign elections around the planet. Well, gee, I've got military forces in 170 plus out of 194 countries, and some of them there covertly. Why? Why? Just since the start, okay, of these protracted wars in the Middle East, the United States is either directly responsible or indirectly responsible for between 3.5 and 4 million deaths in the Middle East. Were they all trying to destroy America? When you consider that over 95% of them are collateral damage, by our government's own words. And when you consider the amount of, I don't know, depleted uranium that is spread in masse across the countrysides of places like Iraq, Afghanistan, blah, 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 blah. That's the gift that keeps on giving. Guaranteed. Stillbirths, and birth defects, and so on and so forth. So these are the topics we're going to be discussing. These are the topics we're going to be bringing home. We're going to take one topic per week, and we are literally going to open it up like the can of worms, because on the outside you can make a can look like anything. It can be damn pretty. And you open it up and it's full of worms. We're going to open up those cans of worms, and we're going to take them out one at a time, and we're going to explain them. Now, are our liberal friends, our progressive friends, our Antifa friends going to like our, and I won't use interpretation because I'm going to tell you something right now. And anybody who's ever listened to a radio show or a TV show I've done knows what's about to come. I'm never going to challenge anybody to prove what I say is wrong. I'm never going to challenge you to prove I'm wrong. And is it because I'm scared? Hell no. I won't challenge you to prove me wrong. I will dare you to prove me wrong. What will be presented to you may be presented in the, I don't know, the glint of a conservative's ideas and ideals, because I do lean slightly towards the conservative side. That's not the point. The point is, I just got done telling you, we had this very, very distinguished gentleman over in Europe who is a liberal and a half and wrote an article about why we need the alternative media for the Liberty Beacon Project, and we published it. And yes, he's a liberal. And I got to tell you something. He's a damn intelligent one, too. And he's willing to talk. And he's willing to find middle ground. And he's willing to say thank you for giving me a platform. We're going to open up some eyes. And we will have the links and the information to prove everything that's coming out of my nuclear-powered mouth. Yeah, it must be, because it just never seems to run out. All right, so this is what we're going to be doing. I am going to be just absolutely begging for any comments that can be put on the articles on TLBTV, because we all know that all of our shows are published with an accompanying article. And if you watch it on YouTube, the link to the article is right there. You can click on it. Please leave comments. The more comments we get, the more questions that are asked, the more we succeed. I don't give a damn if only 100 people watch or listen to this new telepodcast version of Eradicating Programmed Ignorance. If each and every one of them goes out and talks to 5 of their friends, and each one of those goes out and talks to 5 of their friends, this is how we should be gauging success. If I don't have 150,000 or 2 million people watching my show every day, but my show is about as memorable as, yeah, okay, an hour later, you know what? Rush was really funny today. And again, I'm just using this as an example. Really funny. Oh, yeah, what did he talk about? I'm not exactly sure, but boy, he was funny. And if that's what you take away from it, you failed. So, welcome to Eradicating Programmed Ignorance. What you will see going forward will be much like, I don't know, in the olden days, they used to have what was called a town crier. So I do think, and I'm toying with naming this EPI for Eradicating Programmed Ignorance, Town Crier. And I hope everybody enjoys it. I hope everybody takes something away from it that's worthwhile. And I want to thank you all for being a part of the Liberty Beacon Project. We do this because of you, not because of us. Thank you. Have a great day.